Chapter 9. In the morning, Lincoln's knee was still swollen and throbbing. In bed, he turned onto his hip facing the wall. He was too scared to look at his knee. Finally, he raised himself to a sitting position, stretched and yawned, and parted the curtains to check out the day. The storm had come and gone, leaving behind a sky that was as cold and blue as the ocean. "Lincoln," his mother called. She was in the kitchen cooking. "It's after 7, ándale." Lincoln pushed back the blankets and carefully rolled up the legs of his pajama bottoms. He was hoping that the knee wouldn't look as bad as it felt. "Aw, man," he muttered. The knee was large and purple and hard as a nut. It was worse than he'd expected. He slowly maneuvered his legs out of bed and stood up shakily. He opened the drawer and pulled out a sweater, which he put on. Lincoln didn't like bathrobes. They reminded him of old people. As he walked down the hall, he could hear the hiss and crackle of papas. He smelled green onions and his stomach knotted around his morning hunger. Last night's Chinese food, delicious as it was, hadn't done anything for him. The same with pizza. He could eat 5 slices, but he never felt satisfied, just stuffed. "Lincoln," his mother said, pour yourself a glass of milk." She looked down at his knee, which was favoring. "How is it? Does it still hurt?" Lincoln answered yes as he limped to the refrigerator. The milk carton was nearly empty, so instead of getting a glass, he chugged from the carton. "Ay, cochino," his mother said. She scraped the huevos and a pile of steaming papas onto a plate. The newspaper was on the table. He pulled out the sports section and shook his head when he read, "Warriors blown away." The Warriors, as usual, had lost to the Lakers, and big, 129-102. Flacco whined on the front porch. Lincoln thought of letting him in, but he didn't feel like walking all the way through the living room to the front door. His knee was hurting. And anyway, breakfast was ready. He sat down, took up the bottle of ketchup, and laced his papas. He spooned salsa over the ketchup and started to eat. His mother sat down with a refilled coffee cup. "If your leg is not better by tomorrow, you're going to the doctor." "It'll be okay," Lincoln mumbled. "En serio, vas a tener que ir. You have to go." Lincoln didn't like doctors. He would rather lie in bed with a fever, flu, blood poisoning, or broken bones than see a doctor. He didn't like injections. He would rather get smacked in the mouth in a behind-the-back fight than have some nurse approach him with a needle glistening with strange liquids. Lincoln ran a tortilla across his plate, smearing the egg yolk. He looked up at his mother, wiped his mouth with a thumb, and said, "Can you write me a note?" "A note? I want to stay home." He drank the last of the milk from the carton and added, "Just for the morning. I'll go to school in the afternoon." He was thinking of basketball practice. He had to be there. It was the day before the game, and if he didn't show up, Coach would think he was afraid to play Franklin. "Let me see the knee," his mother said. Lincoln scooted back in his chair and, wincing, rolled up the leg of his pajamas. "Ay, Dios," she said, setting her coffee cup on the table. "You better stay home all day today." "I can't, Mom. I have to go to practice. No puedes correr con esa rodilla. You can't run on that knee." "I'm not planning to. I'll dress for practice, but I won't play." It was a lie. If Coach Soto told him to play, he would have no choice. While his mother got ready for work, Lincoln hobbled into the hall and looked up Monica's number in the telephone book. There were 6 stories in the phone book, and he had to call 3 before he got the right one. He'd been scared of getting her mother, or worse, her father. But Monica answered the phone. "Hi, Lincoln. How's the leg?" she asked. She didn't sound surprised to hear from him. "I'm really sorry that you hurt yourself." "It's my knee, not my leg." Lincoln winked as he sat down on the couch. "I won't be there this morning." "Are you going to go to the doctor?" "No, I'm just going to rest. But I'll be at school this afternoon. Can I see you at lunch?" In the background, he could hear the sound of a hairdryer, her mother getting ready for work. "I'll be in the library. I didn't do my homework for English over the weekend." Monica paused. "Did you really eat venison?" "Yeah, it was good." "You don't believe me?" "Not really. I also didn't believe you when you said where you went to church. There's no St. J." Lincoln bit his lip to keep from laughing. "Yeah, well, maybe I didn't go to church, but I did eat deer meat." "Go ahead and ask James." "That sounds gross and cruel." "That's what his parents were serving. I couldn't tell them, 'No, I don't eat deer meat. Please feed me bologna.'" Monica laughed softly and said she would see him at school. Lincoln hung up and chuckled to himself about getting caught lying. He had not been to church in nearly a year. He returned to the kitchen where his mother was searching for her keys. An aura of perfume hovered around her. "Mom, you overdid the perfume." He fanned a hand in front of his face and pinched his nose. "People like it," she said without looking up. Her mouth was made perfect by lipstick, and her hair, which had been mussed only a few minutes ago, was brushed into place. An expensive bracelet, a gift from Roy, jangled on her wrist. She smoothed her dress and picked a piece of lint off her sleeve. "I'm going back to bed," Lincoln said. "Breakfast was real good. I'll do the dishes later." "Rest your leg," his mother advised as she hurried down the hall to grab her briefcase and portfolio from the closet. "Te llamo más tarde. I'll call you later. Adios." Lincoln returned to his bedroom where he lay down with a sigh, being careful not to bump his knee. He heard the front door open and close, and a moment later he heard a click-click on the kitchen floor. It was Flacco searching for his dog Crunchies. Lincoln smiled and laughed for no reason at all. He was glad he had Flacco, even if he was a gift from a father he hadn't seen in years. Flacco showed his face in Lincoln's doorway. His eyes were full of watery tenderness. He barked and wagged his tail. Lincoln got up, went to the kitchen, and fried Flacco an egg. "Flacco, you're a little pig," Lincoln remarked playfully. He ruffled his fur as the dog ate in noisy chomps. He pressed on Flacco's hurt leg, and when the dog didn't whine, he decided to take off the bandage. The thing was filthy, useless. Flacco kept on eating as Lincoln snipped the bandage and unraveled it. The fur was damp and matted, but otherwise, the leg looked healed. "You're good as new," Lincoln grinned as he washed his hands at the kitchen sink. "No motorcycle can kill you." Lincoln returned to his bedroom and rolled back into bed. He pushed in a cassette by Ice-T, but the music was too loud and upsetting with its rap about drugs on the street. It reminded him of Tony, whose favorite singer was also Ice-T. He wondered about Tony. He pictured his carnal kicking off to school, not carrying any books. He would be walking up Dolores, sidestepping drunks and homeless people. He would be passing the thrift shop where he might stop to peek in the window. Inside, the old man would be sitting in his recliner. In the quiet of a Monday morning with no school, Lincoln fell asleep. The heat of 2 blankets made him sweat, and his sleep was hard and deep. He woke when he heard the scraping of a chair. Footsteps sounded in the kitchen, and he thought he heard the rustle of newspaper. Groggily, he raised himself onto an elbow as Flacco jumped down and began to bark. Lincoln heard a voice and wondered why his mother was home. "Maybe she's checking on me," he thought. He got out of bed slowly, straightening the collar of the sweater he was still wearing. He looked in his mirror and combed his hair with his fingers. He hobbled down the hall into the kitchen and was startled to find a man looking at him. Just looking, a screwdriver in his hand. The man's sweatshirt was splattered with paint, but his jeans were dark blue, new. "Who are you?" Lincoln asked loudly. "What are you doing?" The intruder turned away swiftly, sending a chair crashing to the floor, and hurried toward the front door, not running but not walking either. Lincoln hobbled after him, threw his mother's "Have a nice day" coffee cup, and it shattered against the wall, just above the man's head. Lincoln wished that he had James's boomerang. He could bring that guy down like a squirrel, crack open his thieving brains. The intruder didn't look back. He was out the door and down the porch steps before Lincoln could stop him. "Don't come back!" Lincoln screamed, fist curled tightly. "I'll mess with you, man." He picked up a sprinkler and threw it as far as he could. The sprinkler cartwheeled and kicked up grass. It was nothing like a boomerang. The intruder rounded Mr. Shulman's hedge unscathed. Lincoln, chest heaving, stood on the steps with Flacco at his side. The intruder was gone. The neighborhood was once again peaceful. 2 sparrows were feeding in the bushes, and leaves scuttled across the winter lawn. "It's sorry," Lincoln thought. What had sent them away from the Mission District had caught up with them in Sycamore? A break-in. He returned inside to right the chair and tried to piece the coffee cup together.